to Real People, Real Matters. This is Diana Tulchinsky with my first guest, Jimmy Barillas. Jimmy, please tell me about your earlier life in Guatemala.
Well, I was born in Guatemala. I was about 11 years of age when I first was brought to the U.S. by my mother. We came and I was a little kid, just going with mom,
Oh,
and uh, I didn't know any English, and my Spanish was the basic one. I mean, I was a child, so it was coming to a different world.
when did you decide to move to the suburbs?
The suburbs. Well, when I was about 16, yeah, about 16 years of age, my mother decided to move to the suburbs because we used to live in Chicago, and there was a lot of violence,
Oh,
and there
yeah,
was
I
a
can
shooting
imagine.
outside the high school I used to go to. So she decided to move to the suburbs.
And then when you were growing up to the suburbs, who gave you that talent of being a fine artist? Was it any of your uncles that helped you out or your aunts?
Well, basically, when I was a child, I saw one of my uncles painting, and he asked me if I wanted to paint, and that is a memory that I have in my mind. It's a bad uh, memory, but I still remember it. I guess that's when it triggered that love for painting. I was always, as a child, working with my notebook, drawing whatever I could and whatever I feel like it. And I was always into drawing and painting. It was one of my passions. Yes.
And when did you decide to go to community college?
Well, college came as something that I had to do
Oh, you had to do that.
because, well, I say I had to because um, I didn't want to end up like my parents.
Oh, no.
You know, I look up to my mother.
Oh, good.
Because she was the one that brought us up. I mean, we are six. There's six of us,
Oh, yeah.
and three brothers and three sisters, so six of us. And my mom, she is a strong woman. She is really.
She's your personal hero.
Yes, she is. She is. And it was tough for her because the man in her life, she's been married 4 times.
4 times. Wow.
Yes. So the men in her life were not I mean,
Yeah, it is.
father figure.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so it was really tough as a child, but she was always there for us, and she is she inspires me.
Oh, so she wanted you to get go to college, and so when were you working in?
Like I said,
Oakton?
I didn't want to end up like my father. He left when I was 6,
Oh,
so
that
I
was
didn't want to. He had problems with alcohol, so I didn't want to end up like him. And my mother, she was always struggling. She was always, I mean, looking up for us, always working. She was never home because she had to work. She had to provide for us. So I didn't want to do that. So I decided to go to college. So I felt like there was no option for me. I had to. I had
Yes.
to. I had to. So I went to college. I started at Oakton Community College, taking courses, anything I could find, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. At the time, I was working at this print shop here in Northbrook.
Oh, wow. That's
So
cool.
I was working there, but I was the delivery man. So,
Oh, just the delivery man, not the
yeah,
artist.
so I wasn't gonna get too far doing that, you know. But I always wonder what were they doing in the office because I was in the back, always in the back. So I said someday I could be right there in the office. I mean, they have air conditioning and everything is.
Who
more
told you about going to Mexico and grabbing a bachelor's?
Well, actually, at that time, I had a girlfriend here in Chicago. So, and she went to Mexico. She went to college down there. So, when I decided that I wanted to pursue my career in graphic design, I have a brother that lives in Los Angeles. So I moved to Los Angeles. So I started going to UCLA. But I mean, I was basically paying for my school, and
Very
it
expensive.
was, yeah, it was. I mean, pursuing a career in graphic design is, you have to invest a lot of money because you have to buy a lot of materials, and it's really expensive. So I could not afford it. I was there for only like 6 months, and then I needed to do something. I wanted to continue my school, so to me, coming back to Chicago, and no, it was not an option. I needed to continue. So I started looking where to go. I called one of my family members in Guatemala to ask them about the graphic design degree down there. And they told me this one university named San Carlos, they have the degree, but there was a waiting list, I
Oh,
was
there's a
told.
waiting list of
Yeah.
like probably a long.
Yeah, so it was not an option. So at that time, that girlfriend that I had here in Chicago, she went to Mexico, and she was down there in León, Guanajuato. And talking to her, she told me there is a university here, and I can go ahead and ask. And she went ahead, she asked. This was maybe on a Thursday or Friday, and by Monday, I was in Mexico.
Wow, that's very inspirational.
I was in Mexico. I didn't want to. I wanted to continue, so I don't want to give up. But when I told my mom that I was gonna leave before I went to Los Angeles here, like I said, she is tough. She's really a strong woman. And when I was about to leave, I told her, "Hey, Mom, I need to pursue my life, my passion. I want to do something." And I told her I'm gonna go to school, and she goes, well, I'll, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do it. And I told her I'm gonna go to Los Angeles.
Oh.
And she said, okay, with your brother, it's fine. But when I told her that I was going to Mexico,
You'll
she
be
said,
back.
you'll be back.
Yeah.
She said, I'll give you 5 months. You'll be
Oh,
back.
5 months only.
You'll be back in 5 months, she said. I'm not from Mexico, so I didn't know the country. I didn't know anything about Mexico. So to me, there was, I mean, I was always fearless. I mean, I didn't think about anything, so any violence or anything, because I never saw it here. I mean,
Yeah.
I lived it when I was a child, but it was not something. It was in Chicago. There was a shooting. We could always hear about that, but
Yeah,
I never
news.
experienced it myself.
Yes.
So it was not really that I was concerned about. So she was kind of concerned for me going to Mexico, a country that I didn't know. I mean, I had nobody down there in Mexico. So it was, I mean, I guess that's the reason she told me.
Yeah, it's a very difficult plight
Yeah.
to be by yourself in Mexico in university studying. How is the Spanish?
Well, I took it so personal when my mom told me that in
Yeah.
5 months I was going to come back, that my Spanish, it was, I mean, I had the Spanish of a 10-year-old. I could not, I mean, and I had the English of 10 years of being here.
Oh,
So it
yes.
was not 100% Spanish, and I was not 100% English. So it was tough. When I got
Yeah.
there, I got straight to university. So these professors, they were talking in a way that I could not understand.
Oh,
It
so
was.
who helped you translate, like, the focus points in Spanish and?
Oh my goodness! I felt like I was put in a room, and all the lights were shut off. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't understand anything. And after class, I made friends. That's
Oh,
a good.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
I make friends wherever I go. So I made friends fast. So
Yes.
those friends, I would ask them, "Hey, explain to me, please. Explain it in simple words, because I could not understand anything." So they would take their time and they would explain things to me.
Your housing, do you have to pay for your housing?
Oh
and
yeah.
everything?
Well, like I said, my mom was always there for me. She was always helping me. She was financially supporting me
Oh, good.
still. So I was down there, and when I got there, since it was really it was not planned. So when I got there, I got to a house, no furniture, no water,
No heating?
no heating. Uh, I went there and I spent maybe the first week sleeping on the floor.
Wow.
So it was tough, but it was a learning experience, and many times I wanted to give up.
How did you meet your wife?
My wife, I met her at the university.
When you're doing your extra classes?
I was well, basically when I got there, it was the second semester because I was here in Los Angeles. So when I got there, they told me that they were going to take those classes in consideration. So I started the second semester, not the first semester. So all of those classes in the first semester, they were going to take those classes that I took at UCLA as my classes. So a year and a half went by, a year went by, and they told me they could not revalidate those classes.
You couldn't transfer the classes from
I could
Oakton
not
to...
transfer, yes. So I had to take those classes, the first semester classes. So that's where I met my wife.
When you graduated, did you have job offers or what happened?
Yeah, I graduated in 2000. I came out of the university with a job. It was basically I was doing websites.
Oh, good.
It didn't pay much, but it was a job. So
What's the difference between the salary of someone in Mexico versus the United States?
well, let's say that the first job with my degree, I was getting paid 3,000 pesos
3,000
a
pesos
month.
a month. Wow.
Which is 3,000 pesos. How much is it? About $200 a month.
Wow. That, yeah.
So it's a world difference. Yeah.
When did you open up your office, and then when did you get into the restaurant business?
Well, it's a lot of, I mean, like I said before, I was fearless. I was always doing stuff. I was always busy. So as soon as I graduated, a couple of friends and we started a business of our own, marketing business.
Oh, okay.
When we started that business, had just become a father. So
Oh, okay.
my first child came as the same day that I was graduating from university. My first daughter was born.
Remarkable memory. And so you ended up owning a couple of restaurants or working there.
Yeah, that happened a few years later. That happened maybe like around in 2007. We started, we had this magazine. We used to do marketing for many companies. So we had this magazine, and in this magazine, we had every issue, we would had some recipes.
Oh, recipes.
Yeah,
And then you decided.
Use recipes. So every time I would go and see a customer, they would ask me, "Hey, where can I get this?" And I would tell them that those are just recipes. There's no such restaurant or place that you could go and get them. So everybody would ask me the same question time and time again. So one time I told my wife, "Hey, listen, why
Let's
don't
open
we
up a
start?
place."
Yeah, let's start a business." And we started with a small place with an investment of 40,000 pesos at that time. And we ended up with the last restaurant we opened with a quarter of $1 million pesos.
$1 million
investments.
pesos. Wow. That's...
So we grew really fast, but it was a lot of work. Having a restaurant is a lot of work, and yeah, when you're doing something that you're not meant to do, it's gonna break you.
Oh, yes.
So
When did you get robbed in Mexico, and why did you move to the United States?
Well, my plan at first when I went to Mexico, it was just to go to college, finish my degree, and come back. That was the plan. But love happened,
Yeah.
and so I ended up staying 15 years in Mexico. I didn't want to bring my wife to the U.S. because I knew it was going to be tough for her.
Yes.
Because I had already gone through that change, and I didn't want her to go through that change. She was going to leave behind a mother, father,
Culture,
siblings,
yes.
culture, food, everything. So I didn't want her to go through that. And so I decided I'm here already. So we're going to stay here in Mexico. So
Yeah.
we stayed down there for 15 years. And then after all of that pressure that I had with the restaurants, and I got sick.
You got sick.
I got sick because it was so much pressure. I was working about 16 hours a day. And one night, I remember one night, I got robbed. And
By neighborhood kids. By neighborhood kids.
Yeah, we had a restaurant right about 2 blocks away from my parents-in-law, and they had their house about a block away from ours. So one night, it was near the end of the year, almost New Year's. My daughter, she stayed with them, and because my sister-in-law had came to town and visit them, so she stayed down there. And I told my wife, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna go and pick her up." It was around 11 at night, and she told me, "Hey, why don't you take the car?" And I said, "No, it's only a block away. Let me just go get her." So I went out, and some kids from the neighborhood, around 19 years of age, they were drinking. And not only drinking, they probably were having other things besides alcohol. And they asked me for money.
Wow. Did you resist or?
No, I told them because I knew one of them. I told them, "Hey, listen, I'm not gonna give you money for you guys to keep. You should go home."
Yeah.
I mean, it's near and the end of the year. You should be with your family. You guys are kids, and I guess they did not like that.
Oh, it was an awful experience.
Yeah, because there was this guy telling them what to do.
Yeah.
So I almost I heard that these 4 kids surrounded me against the wall, and I heard that voice. He got money. He's got money. He's
Yeah.
got money. So when I heard that, I tried to run.
Oh, yeah.
But they were kids. They ran fast, so they caught me, and I was being so bad that my brain got swollen, and the doctor said that maybe that was the reason that my diabetes
Oh, your
started.
diabetes.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with diabetes type 2 in Mexico, and when I started feeling bad, started feeling sick, and that was the diagnosis.
Yeah, that was.
And I started losing a lot of weight, and everything started going sour down there after that. So I told my wife, "Hey, we have to make a decision. We have to make a decision," because at that time we already had our children. So I told her, "We have to make a decision. We have to do something about this, because we cannot continue like this." I wasn't feeling okay. I wasn't thinking right. I wasn't feeling right, and it wasn't me. It wasn't me. So I talked to my mother, and she was here already living in Glenview. And she said to me, "Just come back." And to me, this is home.
Oh, Glenview now.
Well, Illinois is home for me. So when I came back, I came and we were living with my mom. She was supporting us for a whole year.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom and
When do you start drawing again, and when did you become a graphic artist?
Okay, well, I'm gonna make this story as short as possible. When I was a kid, I was, like I said before, I used to take this notebook everywhere I used to go. But I got bullied one time.
Oh,
I got
that's
bullied,
awful.
and some kids were laughing at me because I used to do that. So I stopped doing that, and I left it behind me for too many years, I guess. And then when I got sick in Mexico and came back to Illinois, and I was here, and I wasn't feeling well, and I wasn't thinking right, and all I wanted to do is just go to heaven. But I guess that was the way to escape my reality.
Yes.
So I went into this world where I knew I was secure, and I started drawing again. I
So you
started
started
painting.
painting, and
I
then
started painting. I
afterward.
started drawing, and that passion, it came back, and that was, to me, that's the true essence of who I am.
Oh,
The
yes.
painting, the this magical world that you can create out of basically an idea. And like I said before, if there is any advice that I could give anybody, it would be that don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep doing it, and eventually things will fall into place. And like it's happening to me right now. I mean, uh, I was drawing and drawing and drawing, and through these last 5 years, I had so many paintings at my house, and my wife said, "Hey, why don't we do something with your paintings?" And I said, "Well, what can I do? I mean, I don't know anybody, I don't know." And she found out about this library,
Glenview Library,
the
yes. Now
Glenview
they're
Library, and she
hosted.
filled up this petition, and she said to me, "Hey, why don't you do it?" And that's how I got started.
Jimmy, please tell me about the symbolism of these birds.
I started painting birds as a way of representing people. I think that all birds, even though it's one species, they are all beautiful, but and they are all different, but they are all fragile.
Oh,
And
fragile.
I see in them, I represent people with birds. So I put them in situations and scenarios that would represent people. So I try to tell a story with every painting. Um, and they're more like parables.
Oh, parables.
There is a story behind it, and I guess every person that is going to look one of my paintings will see a different story. So
Is this watercolor or acrylic or
yeah, I
oil?
use watercolor. Watercolor, it's my favorite. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
what I use. I used to paint in oil painting and acrylic, but now watercolor is my passion.
This
Yes.
is very bright blue. Is that anything for?
It's just a lot of blue,
Yes.
less water and a lot of paint. Yes.
And then you have like the newspaper, like a stencil on that.
I use newspaper to confirm to emphasize on some points that I want to make and to continue telling the story. Yes.
And can you tell me the story behind this, or what was your mood or
Well,
emotion?
basically, right here we have somebody coming out of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, I represent the behind as the world being such a messy place with a lot of things going on. And this is what is representing. I have stars that the stars to me, they represent dreams.
Your dreams.
Yeah,
Yes.
dreams. People, we all have dreams, and some of them are behind, and some of them could be on the front. But this one right here, it's somebody coming out of this mess into the world to a new light, to a new beginning, and this to me, when I use this symbolizes the word of God. So right here, he's God beforehand the world had,
Oh.
which is a promise. Yes.
How do you like living in Glenview now? How do you like the schools for your kids?
I love Glenview.
You do.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I see my kids and they are happy. and that's all I really want, for them to be happy. And,
Do you have any tips for college students or kids in high school that want to go into painting or fine arts or even graphic arts?
don't give up.
Don't give up. Yes.
Don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, there's always going to be circumstances or people that is going to tell you other things. I mean, and you might want to give up because you're not getting the results you want. So just don't give up. Just keep doing it.
Thank you, Jimmy Barillas, for this wonderful conversation about fine art, how you became a graphic artist.
Well, thank you for this time.
Thank you for watching Real People, Real Matters. This is Diana Tulchinsky. Please watch us again. Thank you.